Hello everybody, I am Sonny. I'm going to be your coding coach for this second part of the video. In the first half you met Judith and Steven. You've probably seen all of us in other videos before this one, but we are meta coders. We're going to be teaching online courses to anybody that wants to learn about anything really. In this second half, we're going to continue talking about how to teach learning different tools. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue playing this video.
Grocery. I spent graduate school designing multiplayer gaming environments where you can write code. Some of these took me months or even years to build.
So right now he's talking about using video games to teach something. And I'm sure usually when you play video games, that's not something that's in your mind, right? It's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to play this game to learn about X. You basically just want to have fun. But if you really think about it, playing video games sometimes does teach you something. Maybe you're playing like a game that has to do with history. Maybe you learn some interesting history facts, or maybe about space and how planets work, and maybe a game about science and like making potions or whatever. So if you really think about it, you probably did learn something while playing a video game. Maybe you learned more than one thing. What about when you're playing multiplayer games? You can probably learn how to work in a team, how to lead, how to delegate tasks to other teammates in order to achieve a goal. So think about when you play games, what things you're learning.
And what I discovered when I studied them in laboratories was you actually don't need a fancy sandbox like that to learn how to code. There are millions of people just like me, just like you, who are stuck in a box right now. And meditating on what it means, what it feels like to be forced into a box is the perfect time to realize that this isn't new. Every teacher you ever have crafts a box around you. As educators, we call them learning environments. And that's great. It's great that we have school to be there as a box that prepares you for the real world.
So Stephen used the words learning environment. So right now, through this video, this is a learning environment. Maybe you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you're watching this in Udemy, or maybe some other platform that we're using in the future. So there's different learning environments. When you're teaching coding, the first thing you probably think about is, okay, I'll go to this website. Maybe it's Scratch, maybe it's like Code Academy, Udemy, any other website that teaches online learning. But besides those, there's other things you can do, right? Like basically playing a video game might teach you something. Maybe you have somebody come over and teach you something. Maybe not right now because we can't, but before you went to like a soccer field with a coach and other teammates and you played soccer and learned. Maybe you have a piano at home and you had an instructor come in and teach you stuff. So there's different ways of learning. So during this quarantine, have you learned something using a different tool? I'm sure everybody has done online, but besides online, or maybe what websites have you gone to that you didn't know existed? But now since we have to do it that way, you're learning more, right? So there's a bunch of different learning environments out there for you to learn something. You just have to pick the one that you like the most and stick with it.
When will I ever use this in the real world? It's a lament we hear from students all the time. It's a lament that goes back to when schools first started. What is this for? Why am I here? Why am I learning what I'm learning? How does this box I'm in relate to what is out there? Does it? But now.
So I'm sure you've asked yourself this question. Why am I learning this? When am I going to use it? And that's an important part of learning. It's a process, right? But maybe it depends on what subjects you like in school. Maybe you say this phrase more in math because you really don't like math, or maybe you'd use this phrase in maybe a history class because you think, well, that's the past, like it's already passed, or I'm not gonna use this equation or algorithm, or I don't care about how to do world problems, right? But it just depends on what everybody likes, and everything has a purpose, and it's basically a process of just molding your mind into thinking a certain way to help you solve problems. Maybe you won't specifically use, that operation or that history fact, but it just lets your mind grow just by learning things. That's basically the, the gist of it.
Now that we are all trapped in our COVID 19 boxes, this is the perfect time to start talking about what it means to teach coding better, what it means to teach coding outside the box.
Right, so he's saying how to teach coding outside the box. So we previously mentioned some ways that already exist for people to learn. Either have a tutor, go to school, go to a class, watch a video online, whatever it might be. But since right now we are in a perfect state where we have to come up with new ways of doing stuff. So maybe try to think of a way that you can learn something, or maybe you teach something to somebody else, and just think outside the box. Just pretend you have like infinite freedom, infinite resources, technology, everything exists, and think of a way that it'd be cool to either be teaching something or have somebody teach you. Right, so that last bit was just Steven trying to be funny. I'm sure everybody has made some silly video to pass the time, either with the family you're in or maybe online somehow. So, stay safe and survive this quarantine by learning stuff and trying new to improve your current skills. That's going to be all for today, and I'll see you in the next course.